Welcome to Section 31, episode number 350. I'm Dan Hammond.
And I am Rogue Schindler.
Nice round number. We actually
Yeah,
have
350.
results from a local tournament. We have results. We'll talk briefly about Masters that went on in Texas. But you won both games. I didn't realize that until after I was on the way home. I'm like, wow, Rogue won the tournament. He won triples as well. Congratulations.
Thank you. I didn't think about that either until I got home and somebody asked, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, and I did the opposite.
I'm sorry to hear.
I won no games and scored no triples. So,
Oh man,
heck of a day.
well, I'm gonna go with acquaintance Nick used to say, "Thank you for making the top half of the class possible."
Wow. Yeah, still sounds like a jerk move.
Yep.
Even when you say it. So I put together a Vidian deck because I was short on time and I had a bunch of Vidian decks in the stable. I did want to try something new, and that was going to an Alpha Quadrant with the new objective that lets you go to wormhole negotiations. So that was kind of cool. That was fun and easy. But it meant I took out one of my other missions, and the one I took out was the one that lets Talaxians report for free. And looking back, there's that Talaxian who's he's like an officer, a leader, maybe. The guy who just reports there, because I had a bunch of them in the deck and I took them out, and yeah, that was unfortunate because I had a distinct lack of leaders and officer in the entire deck, and there's not only is Maglock a thing, but there's other cards that require leadership in multiple and officer in multiple. And man, I was running into wall after wall after wall. It was tough. I played against Thomas in the first round, and he was playing Mirror Quadrant, and we didn't really have much in the way of interaction. He had like 1 or 2 Alpha Quadrant missions. I originally thought we were going to play no Alpha Quadrant, but then I remembered I had a mission, and then he had played missions. Because if neither of us have Alpha Quadrant missions, neither of us have to go to 140. It's just a quick run to 100. But that didn't happen. So I think I scored 65 to his 75. So it was a close game, back and forth a bit, but we got called on time. And then did I play you in the last round, or did I play Charlie next? You're frozen and not here anymore. All right. Well, I'm recording, so I'm going to keep talking. I believe I played Charlie in the next round, and he was playing. What was he playing? He's playing Patty's Klingons, 22nd century Klingon deck, and I managed to get what I was doing going, and I think I was 1 mission solve away from winning, but he was able to race faster than me, and since I had to go to the Alpha Quadrant from the last mission, he had piled up all the cards that just stop you and make you go somewhere else, like Cytherians and Emergent Life Form, and the one where if you don't have enough cunning, you have to pick an opponent's ship and go fight them. And between all of that, I was not able to get through it in a single turn, and he got through his last mission and got to 100 points. So I was stuck at, I think I was stuck at like 75 or 95 or something like that. And then in my last round, I played against Rogue, and you are still frozen. So I think I'm going to hang up on you and let you join back in the call in a moment. But in the meantime, I was playing against I played against Charlie, and he was playing, like I said, Patty's deck. He was initially very disappointed because he saw me put out all these Delta Quadrant missions and thought, well, if I'm just going to be in the Delta Quadrant, I'm not going to go over there. And he couldn't use any of his capture stuff or combat stuff, so he put it all in places where I wasn't going to hit it or I wasn't going to do anything. But he still managed to get his draw engine up very quick. He was drawing cards because he had a prisoner. He was drawing cards at the end of his turn. And I want to say just about everyone I played against felt like they were playing temporal shifting because everyone was playing alternate universe guys. And I'm very lucky that no one played a temporal shifting on me, because I think I have 1, maybe 2 AU cards throughout the deck. So Rogue says, won't let me rejoin. All right, well, how about we invite him again and see what happens? Sir Rogue. Right. Anyway, being the Delta Quadrant, didn't have a lot of AU people. On the other hand, I didn't run into the doorway that requires potentially AU guys, so that wasn't a problem. Still won't let me rejoin. Well, that's too bad. The show is a lot better when I get to talk to Rogue about how he beat me. All right, well, we'll put that on pause for a moment while I attempt to rejoin with Rogue. Ah.
Ah.
Right. You're back. So I was explaining about Charlie's deck and how he got his card draw set up really quick. I was in Thomas's game. I was outplaying him, but he refused to let me draw cards with handshake once, and I was pretty much hosed after that.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was drawing not enough cards. I didn't have enough to throw it away to draw 7 new ones. So I tried to. He had 3 cards in his hand, so I figured, well, those were the last 3 cards he drew, and he had drawn duplicates of the ship he already had out and something he didn't care about, so he pitched it. And his draw engine, Thomas's draw engine, was much better than mine, so he was able to quickly rebuild his hand, and I was not. At one point against Thomas, he hit love interest and plague ship with 1 medical and 8 guys, and I got his 1 medical and killed everyone. So it was amazing.
Oh, wow.
That was perfect, but the same problems with not having enough, not having the right people to get past his dilemmas. And Thomas wasn't even playing a crazy 5 dilemmas at each mission this time. He was playing, 3 or 4.
Yeah, I commented on that. He was running light this week with only 3 4s and 3 3s.
Quite. So I felt like I had a chance, but like I said, it's 65-75, close game. Close game against Charlie, as I mentioned. I think we ran. I went to 1 mission, and it failed miserably because he had piled up all his anti-space stuff there. Had I gone to a different mission, I would have passed, and I would have had 100 points. Not enough to win without the extra 40 points you need because of your monument, but it would have at least been more respectable. And then against you, when we first sat down, I read that card that lets you pull an espionage, and I looked at my card and it says, unless, because I was playing Wormhole Negotiations, Stealable Mission, and I'm packing, the card that lets you protect it, unless they're playing an appropriate espionage. So I did all I could. I had the only way I can get to the Alpha Quadrant in this deck was drawing into the bars and Wormhole because I didn't want to seed it. And you got to that mission before I could, so stole it right out from underneath me. I had the opportunity to fly through the wormhole and shoot at you, but once again, my lack of leadership or officers held me back, and I couldn't initiate combat. I mean, I think if your opponent steals a mission, that should be grounds for fighting, but not enough to fight back without a leader.
I can't argue with that. Actually, I think that would be that certainly makes me mad enough to want to attack you. Poorly strategic spite attack.
Well, I mean, and once you took that mission, I'm looking at the missions that I had laid out, and they were all 30 or 35. So I couldn't. I don't think I could score 135, 140 points. And then you put the Strange New Worlds on that mission that requires law.
On the 35-point mission.
Yeah, there's no law on the deck, so that was out. So I basically was down to 4 missions that added up to 120 points. Wasn't going to happen. So how did you sneak past Thomas and Charlie?
Well, oddly, just skills. It was a little bit crazy. So I was reading the
Oh, she froze again. All right, well, I'll take this opportunity to say that Paxum is the guy that took out. He's a command star, which I was also short on, with officer. So that's where all my leadership went. All my leaders went out with Paxum, because I took out 4 copies because he didn't play for free anymore. What I needed was some non-aligned staff with leadership or officer, so that I could play him for free to home away from home. but that didn't work out. Unfortunately, the Vidians that were playing, the only way they report for free is if you're using medical, if they have medical as a classification. And not a lot of leadership in the Vidian affiliation that reports for free. So that's clearly a hole. So I see Rogue is still frozen. That is not good. This is just not shaping up. We had actually things to talk about this time. All right, I'm going to give him one more shot. Oh, Rogue has joined the call. Rogue 2 has joined the call. I see a second Rogue. Is he joining us? The first Rogue's dropped out. Now there's just one Rogue. I got nothing. I'm hearing nothing from the other side. It's too bad. Right. Well, I can look at the results of the rest of the tournament. Let's see. Tournaments completed. There we are. He's back again. You were talking about skills.
Yes. It was funny, actually, that you mentioned the Paxum thing, because I was thinking about that. Oh my God, it's still ringing in the background.
I can't hear
separate call. I'll try to keep going. I felt like everybody, all 4 decks I saw today that day, were all relying heavily on a lot of copies of a single universal personnel, and and yours was the only one I couldn't think of. Because I don't really know the Vidians very well. So when you mentioned Paxum, I was like, oh, all right, well, there you go. Because Thomas had a ton of crewman Wilson, because he's got some crazy skills, and he's solo. I've never seen anybody use both missions for that spatial interface. That was a really cool mechanic. You probably already talked about that, him using that. No wormholes. Not even a multidimensional transporter device that I saw, although I assume he had one for the Hulkin planet. But
no, but yeah, just letting the space, the time
just
flip over and move back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, just writing that to the Alpha Quadrant, and then, hey, in the next turn, I'm in the Alpha Quadrant. I guess I'll attempt this mission. But the Alpha Quadrant version of the spatial interface is he can solo. Crewman Wilson has all the skills. So that was insane. Charlie had 7 copies of this mirror Klingon dude that has archaeology and transporter skill and all these things, and that he I guess uses to do hunt for DNA program. And I had at least 4 copies, and I wish I had had more, of my new main man, Cetis, who is... He has got medical, he's got navigation, he's got transporter skill, he's a matching commander. He's the whole package, it seems like. Like, he was saving my butt he's got science because he soloed poor Thomas. We were quantum mechanical engineers at our table in round 2. Let me tell you, there was no incursions that were getting in our way. The point of my deck, I went ahead and went all space, not all space, but 4 space, as many spaces as possible, because I was looking at them and it was like, between Faltor Pan, because your guys die and they come back, and make it so it can be used, it doesn't go away if you use Power of the High Council, and there's 4 matching commanders with ships, so that's 4 shots at unstopping. I was like, I'm gonna redshirt the crap out of space and then do planet to finish, because nobody expects that. And it worked by and large. I had that guy go solo past, I forget what the first dilemma was, but for some reason it didn't hit, and it just went away. And then the second dilemma was kill him, show of force. Only 1 guy, so he didn't even die. You have to have 2 people. So he stopped. They downloaded a guy to him. And the next turn, the 2 of them went. The other guy died. So he was there on his ship and hits quantum incursion. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to be stopped. Wait, let me look at the requirements. And I was like, do I have any of this stuff? It's like, well, I have science and navigation. Oh, wait, my ship has navigation. I got a 1 in 6 shot. Sure, let's scan it. And sure enough, we rolled science
Wow.
and 2 nav, so I soloed a quantum incursion.
That is impossible. That's nice. Well done.
Yeah. It was all about getting past the quantum incursions on our table. It was really entertaining. I hit that requirement again at another mission with Cetus. Thomas hit it as the last dilemma. He was trying desperately to score points before we finished, and I had put it. It was next to that scheme that stops people when they use regular skills. So he's like, "Okay, do this." Oh crap! Okay, all those guys are stopped. All right, well, I only have a couple people left, and it's quantum incursion. All right, well, I've got it. Spock has, I forget what it was, science and transporter skill, science and 2 transporter skill, 2 science and transporter skill. That was it, and he was going through trying to do it, and it's like, okay, yeah, you've got it, but your guys are stopped. He's like, no. And he's like, wait, no. So if instead of do that, I get this guy out. So I'm only using crewman Wilson. He used the special download from the Constitution to use crewman Wilson's classification instead of somebody's skill, and then use Spock's classification instead of his skill, and then somehow got transporter skill from something. I think a communicator or something. I don't know. Somehow he got around it. Or he didn't care. He used somebody else's transporter skill, didn't care if they got stopped, so that he could still have the mission requirements. So it was really cool. It was a fun game we had about shifting skills around and trying to get past that. But my game was all about throwing people at missions and then going through my stack of guys on Faltorpan and saying, okay, now I know it's there. Who wants to come go get past this? And more often than not, it was trying to put together the people to get past medical crisis.
Yep.
Which was fine. Cetus was really handy, but it was going through, finding the non-medical bio. Like, all right, here we go. Get this guy and this guy. It wasn't quite as handy as the, having a station where you can dial anybody you want with the right combo. But I had a lot of different ways of trying to download somebody. So it was similar, and it was still had the advantage of, drawing like crazy. All of my draw engines were discard cards to draw cards. So I was always discarding people that went to Faltorpan. So I'm essentially not having to pay that cost.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's almost as good as getting them back with Nanoprobe, right?
Yeah. So even after I accidentally put a bunch of ban cards in my deck and then couldn't use them, which I had solved.
What were you using?
Well, I was looking for draw engine cards that I was like, I started with just doing a ton of mutation, and then I with some temporal, whatever it was, temporal shifting, because I was like, all right, discard a guy, draw 4, that makes sense. Then I have the guy, and then I was looking for other ways to do it, and for some reason, like I thought all of those, Beyond the Sum Atomic and the Power and all of those Hexany cards were banned, but then they had been eroded so that they were back. I didn't know some of them were still banned, so when I went through, I looked at them all online, not in hand. So I was assuming all of those were the current versions. I didn't see anything red pop up like, hey, this is a banned card, but I was adding it to the problem was, it turns out, I was adding them to my deck and checking the deck builder, and I was just glancing for the big red text that says you can't use this.
Yeah,
turns out
doesn't do that anymore.
No, and it's still on the card if you go to the card page, but the deck page only says what it is legal for. So luckily, Charlie was apparently said he was cheating anyway in our first game, so that was kind of a wash. And Thomas noticed it at the beginning of our game, so I never actually played any cards. So there was just dead cards in my deck, and even with that, I luckily did not give in to the impulse of, wow, I found this awesome new card. I'm going to take out all my other draw engines.
Oh, right. Yeah,
and
sure.
replace it with this. And I held back as I'm like, no, variety is good. You can, because those are a lot of those cards. It was just 2 cards. Smooth is an android's bottom, which lets you look at the bottom 3, discard personnel, and keep the rest. So basically, draw 3 cards.
Right.
And data keep dealing, in case for some reason something actually gets discarded that I needed. And so there's a few copies, like 4 smooths and 2 data keep dealings. So I had 6 cards in my deck that were dead, but I had enough other stuff to keep the variety, because all of those are once every turn or once each turn, depending on the one you're talking about. So I could keep playing multiple draws, and it still worked pretty well. I still had a lot of options, and to answer your question, how I got snuck past Charlie and Thomas, I pretty much stayed close to home against Charlie, and I got all my defense stuff out right away because I was waiting for something bad to happen. Both my draw engine and my play engine hinge on having Faltor Pan on the table, and there's not really a good way to protect it, short of what I almost did, which is actually seed that stupid planet that lets you download Rashawn Uxbridge. But instead, I stocked some Quins, and I just held every copy of Quinn I had in my hand the whole game,
So
just in case. So that actually turned out to be handy. Charlie never got his outgunned out against me, but if he had, I would have had it on hand. Thomas just had trouble with my dilemmas, bouncing back and forth. He got a mission off on the last turn, but I did end up. I was so close to. Did I get a full win against him? Maybe I did. I got a full win against him because we got a timed win, right?
yes, I believe so.
Because of your stupid faux pas that I should have gotten past. I loved that, though, by the way, and we've talked about this before, but the design of those Botany Bay dilemmas.
Those are pretty strong walls.
Being not 3 diplomacy, but 3 people that have diplomacy. And I had 4 diplomacy on 2 people. Right. and failed, and which turned out to be the difference between a timed and full win, because the next card was Dead End, which I already had. I gotta say, I sweated that whole 2/3 of our game, because I hate mission stealing. It's so stressful. It's literally, and I made the comment then, it's like, let's see if I've flushed all my eggs down one basket, because I have to remember what dilemmas I put there, what skills I needed, and make sure I have everything, and that I have the guy that downloads the espionage card, and if you're going to do something that I don't know about, that's going to cancel everything, and I'm just screwed because it's on the opposite end of my space line.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't have been any easier. It was as hard as it could possibly be. Like I said, it was on the far end. I was kind of hoping, I think it was Charlie started putting missions on both sides of the wormhole. I'm like, what are you doing? You're just hosing yourself, because I'm only playing that one Alpha Quadrant. I think he wanted some more interaction.
Yeah.
Hoping I was going to play some more, but it was far end, so it couldn't have been. There was nothing I could have done to make it harder, other than self-seeded dilemma there. But I probably should have, knowing that you could steal it without me getting there first. I was just hoping that I would draw into one of my bars and wormholes with as many handshakes as I had.
Yeah.
So I could get over there and take it. But you had 2 dilemmas there, and they were both those Botany Bay dilemmas, which would have required me to have the 6 right people to get past it. So that would have been tough.
Yeah. When you mentioned that, because I was trying to remember how that worked, and I was like, wow, it's 8 range to go through. So that's like a whole turn to come out. And if you don't have the right stuff, which you probably won't on the first shot, that means you have to go back and grab, at the very least, grab another ship, and they have to come through, or use another turn to get range and go back. So between that and I just live in fear of the super powered Delta Quadrant guys, and I was just like, I can't let you go to 100 points. It's just too easy. So it was like, that was your only Alpha Quadrant mission. It was like, if I steal that, not only will I get 45 points, 50 points as it turns out, but that swing is 90 points or more, because
Right,
then
because it's
you have
points that are
to,
often taken from me altogether.
yeah. So
Plus, I have to get another 40, so call it 120 point swing.
so that I was like, I have to go for the broke on that and
Yep.
hope that that comes out. And I was already geared for space anyway, so that ended up being a gamble, and it paid off. But I really like that deck, and it turns out other people do too. As a from if the Masters this weekend is any indication, I saw at least 2 Vulcan decks, including the winner.
Yeah, congrats to Ken for the victory in the Texas Masters playing a Wisdom of Surak deck. As you mentioned, Ben also has posted a at least Vulcan Federation. I don't know if that means he had so many. Maybe he had a Federation outpost or something in there to go with all his Vulcans.
Yeah.
But two-thirds of the posted decks are all are Vulcan. So we'll see what the other half of the field has. But yeah, good showing for Vulcans over the weekend.
Yeah, and even looking at his deck, I was like, oh man, how did I not see that? That event hidden agenda lets you, all your non-Vulcan people are stopped when they're played for the next 2 turns.
Oh, yeah, that's rough.
I hadn't even, for some reason, I hadn't thought of it, but yeah, man, especially for the playing against Thomas's Terran Empire, and you sit there and wait until you're in the middle of a mission attempt, and it's like, okay, I'm going to fail, but I'll special download this guy and have him join the attempt,
and he comes into play stop,
and he's stopped.
That's like, pretty good. Yeah.
So that's a strong play, and I, it's another seed card, which I didn't have a lot of room for, but this is 2 tournaments in a row where I've had pretty minimal combos and been pretty happy with those, and that's thanks in large part to those Botany Bay dilemmas. There's not much attrition going on, so if you get a pile of people, then it's just going to wait them out. But they're good cards, and they can kind of stand on their own if you just need to buy a little time.
Yeah, I think by the end of my second game, I was attempting throwing caution to the wind just so I could try to get some points, and was attempting with a stack of 15 people, just hoping I would have the skills spread out on everyone and not worrying too much if I lost a few points. But I never ran into those. If you have 9, stop somebody. If you still have more people, kill somebody, et cetera, et cetera. Or if you have the more people you have, the more damage it does. I didn't run into any of that this time, but you're right. Those dilemmas were everywhere. I feel like there's going to be a slow change, so that all the crews and away teams that are attempting happen to have that magical assortment of 6 people who can get by those dilemmas now, right? And then those dilemmas will go away for a while, and murder will come back, and then that should be good.
Yeah, I did find myself thinking, it's like, okay, well, I had to put together a crew to pass my dilemmas on your mission, but even as I was playing other people, I was like, okay, well, who do I have that has these things, so I can try to do that one here and that one there. So yeah, the upside is you just get stopped if you hit them, as long as you're not scanning.
Thought about it. I thought about putting some scans in.
I was hoping somebody might.
Everyone's playing with those right now, so put away for another day. My other thought was playing Borg, because Borg were sharing all the skills, so you will have 3. If you have 1, you'll have 3, but the other half is classification, and they have no classifications, so you have to have that 1 skill or nothing. And in the case of the space one that requires officer or acquisition, that's going to be tough. That's a turn loss. Very good. Well, congrats to Ken and yourself for piloting Vulcans to victory. Do you want to talk about Tribbles at all, or do you want to talk about the other Masters games?
I mean, Tribbles was Tribbles. It was nice to play. We haven't played in months.
It has been a while. Brian came out, so there were 5 of us. That was great. Expanded the table a little bit.
Yeah, it was helpful. Thomas was there, and I think it was good for me that we started later, because that meant, instead of being gone for 6 hours in the middle of the day and having to rush home before bedtime, I was gone for 6 hours, like towards the end of the day, and only 4 of them were baby awake time.
Counted. Yeah.
And so by the time I would have left to rush home, she would have already been asleep. So I had plenty of time to stay for triples. So that was beneficial to me and also to Thomas, so he could actually come. So I'm glad that worked out, and we can still have a tournament before the end of the year.
It sounds like Charlie's going to try to schedule one in December. So hopefully we'll get another round of one in before Talks of the Phoenix tournament comes around.
All right, and that's on a weekend, isn't it? Oh, well, the first is a Friday. No, the first is a Monday. So the 31st is a Sunday.
It'll probably the next week, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right. It's been a long time since we've actually done the New Year's Eve tournament.
Yeah, let the Fesarias drop. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Then let's talk briefly. One of our own, Matt Kirk, won the Texas 2E tournament in a field of 22 people. That's a pretty big field. It's
pretty impressive, and some really impressive names on that list. On top of it, it must have been exhausting for him because he's one of the only people who hasn't posted a deck list yet. In fact, the only person in the top 5. So I'd be really interested to see what he played. I'm hoping he's not doing that thing that some people do where I've won a tournament and I don't want people to see my deck so that they know what I played. I'm going to play it again.
High-level event is required.
Is it Masters included in that? Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
So hopefully we'll get to see that soon.
Exactly. He looks like he took on John, who had just won the World Championship, MVB, who was a previous World Champion, and a couple other names on here, pretty high power. So big field. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like some good variety here. I'm just looking at the decks we see here in the top 10, all different. Starfleet, Klingon. Amber played relatively. Big surprise. Ben Hosp with the not Terran Empire, Tarek Noor.
Tarek Noor, yeah.
Wilden Hoskins with the Romulans, and Josh Sheets with Dominion. So a lot of variety. See Maquis on the list, Borg, Ferengi. So a lot of affiliation showed up. That's always great to see.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if anything from the last set or two, the little boutique set that dropped, and if anything made a splash at all. But good stuff. Well, I'm sure we'll hear all about it from Matt when he comes back and for our games on Friday if any of us are around.
Yeah.
So congrats to Matt for winning on a big field, and congrats to Neil for taking the Tribbles tournament in a field.
The most important tournament.
That's right. That's a lot of Tribbles. Looks like you got
a lot of Tribbles.
Only
a
one
lot of
person
people
over $1 million,
Tribbles.
Yeah. 6-player final table. So congrats to Neil, congrats to Matt, congrats to Ken on a well-attended, sounded like it was a well-run Masters. So good job on John for that. I'm sure we'll be hearing about that being an annual event. And if it's an annual event, then it can have a chance to grow and get even bigger. So that'd be great.
Yeah. So great job. Sounds like it was a great event. All of the people I saw on Facebook posting about it sound like they had a great time. Really exciting. Congrats to all the winners, and I hope everybody had a good time. It really did look like a really fun weekend, which is nice to have. It's almost like the antithesis is the wrong word, but sort of like halfway past. We're in the super off season, so it was like, half birthday, half Christmas. We're halfway to con season, so we got a nice November tournament weekend to tide you over until Gen Con and the regional season.
I'm looking ahead on the schedule, and I still see February 11th, a 1 p.m. tournament up here in Carlsbad that you and JD have registered for. I don't even know if that's a weekday or a weekend day. Yeah, it's a Sunday. So Sunday the 11th of February up here in Carlsbad.
We'll see you
then. One constructed. All right. Very good. That's probably everything we've got, unless you have another topic you want to broach before we wrap up.
I don't. We've covered a lot, and I'm sure people are still exhausted from Masters or going to research Masters. So I'm looking forward to, I guess, building a new decks in case we have time to play in December.
Sounds like a plan. You've done well with 2 new decks, the Starfleet and the Vulcans. So I wonder what's going to be next. And I've got some ideas about what I want to do. So we'll see
Let's go
what we come up
backwards.
with, and we'll talk about it if it happens. Otherwise, let's
All
wrap it
right.
up.
That sounds great. That's all the intelligence we have for this week. In the meantime, I am Sir Rogue.
And I just remembered that I caught up myself on Discovery, the Orville, and the first season of The Expanse. So let's have a chat
Oh,
about that when we come back next week.
that's good because this just last night was the half season finale. We'll give people a week to talk about or to watch that Discovery, and then we can come back and talk about the whole ball of enchiladas.
And I'm Sir Dan.
And I will remind you all to expand your power in the Spore Network universe.
And I'll draw to end.